The notification pinged at 11:47 p.m. while I sat in my recliner, nursing a beer and watching some mindless late-night TV. My wife Tara's message glowed on my phone screen. "Hey babe, going to Mom's for a few days. Need some space to think? Love you." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I stared at the text for a solid 30 seconds, then looked across the room at Tara's mother, Helen, who was snoring softly on our couch. She'd been staying with us for the past week while her kitchen got renovated after a pipe burst. "Sure thing, honey," I typed back, my fingers moving with deliberate calm. "Take all the time you need." The irony wasn't lost on me. My name's Evan McKay, and I've spent 15 years building my construction supply business from nothing. I know when something doesn't add up, whether it's a crooked foundation or a lying wife. I glanced at Helen again. Poor woman had no idea her daughter was using her as an alibi. Tara had kissed me goodbye that morning, claiming she had back-to-back Pilates classes at her studio until late. Now apparently she was at her mother's house, seeking space to think. The thing about being married to someone for 8 years is you learn their patterns. Tara had been different lately. New underwear that never made it into our bedroom rotation, phone calls that ended abruptly when I walked into rooms, late nights at the studio that stretched longer each week. I pulled up our shared location app, something we'd set up years ago for emergencies and convenience. The little blue dot showing Tara's location wasn't at Helen's house. It was at the Riverside Inn downtown. "Well, I'll be damned," I muttered, setting down my beer. Helen stirred on the couch. "Everything all right, dear?" "Just peachy," I said, grabbing my keys. "Going out for some air. Be back soon." The drive to the Riverside Inn took 12 minutes through empty streets. Our little New England town rolled up its sidewalks early, which made the hotel parking lot feel like a spotlight. I found Tara's silver Honda Civic parked near the back, trying to hide behind a landscaping hedge. Right next to it sat a black BMW that I recognized immediately. Travers, the town's golden boy realtor with his perfect teeth and expensive suits. The guy who sold million-dollar lake houses to city folks and thought his charm made him untouchable. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, engine off, just thinking. Part of me wanted to storm upstairs and catch them in the act. The other part, the smarter part, knew that wouldn't accomplish anything except give Tara ammunition in a divorce. Instead, I drove home and spent the next 3 hours doing research. By morning, I had a plan. I woke up at 6 a.m. sharp, same as always. Helen was already in the kitchen making coffee, bless her heart. "Sleep well?" she asked, pouring me a mug. "Like a baby," I lied. "Hey, Helen, when's the last time you talked to Tara?" She frowned, stirring sugar into her coffee. "Yesterday morning before she left for work." "Why?" "Just wondering. She mentioned stopping by to see you, but I know how busy you've been with the kitchen situation." "Oh, she didn't come by. I was home all day waiting for the contractor." Helen's frown deepened. "Is everything okay between you two?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Tara, right on schedule. "Good morning, babe. Hope you slept well. Still at Mom's, probably staying another night. Miss you." I showed Helen the text. Her face went through several expressions before settling on disappointed resignation. "I see," she said quietly. "Helen, I need you to know that whatever happens next, this isn't your fault. Tara made her choices." She nodded, patting my hand. "What are you going to do?" "What I should have done months ago." I called my lawyer first. Then I drove to my supply yard and had a conversation with Jesse, my right-hand man who'd been with me for 10 years. "Boss, I hate to say it, but I've seen them together," Jesse said when I laid out the situation. "Last month at Murphy's bar. Thought you knew." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Wasn't my place. But now that you're asking..." He pulled out his phone and showed me a photo he'd taken. Tara and Cole in a corner booth, her hand on his thigh, both of them laughing at something. "When was this?" 3 weeks ago. Tuesday night. Remember? Tara said she had that late client session?" I remembered. She'd come home at midnight, claiming her client had been working through some personal issues and needed extra time. "Jesse, I need a favor." "Name it." "I'm going to need some help with a little project." By noon, I had everything in place. The divorce papers were drawn up and ready. I documented every lie, every suspicious night, every inconsistency in Tara's stories over the past 6 months. My lawyer assured me that adultery still mattered in our state, especially when it came to asset division. But the legal stuff was just the foundation. What I had planned for Tara and Cole was going to be much more satisfying. That evening, I drove back to the Riverside Inn. Same 2 cars in the same spots. I walked into the lobby like I owned the place, which in a way I did. My company had supplied the materials for the renovation 2 years ago. "Evening, Marcus," I said to the night desk clerk, a kid I'd known since he was in high school. "Hey, Mr. McKay, what brings you here so late?" "Need a favor. My wife's upstairs in one of your rooms, but she's not answering her phone. I'm worried something might be wrong. Could you help me get a message to her?" Marcus looked uncomfortable. I'm not supposed to give out room information. I slid a $100 bill across the counter along with a box of donuts from the good bakery downtown. "Not asking for information, just need you to deliver something to Mrs. McKay in room, well, whichever room she's in. Emergency family matter." The kid pocketed the money and took the envelope I handed him. Inside were the divorce papers and a note I'd written on hotel stationery. "Hope you're enjoying your thinking time. These should help clear your head. Your soon-to-be ex-husband." "Room 237, Marcus whispered. "But you didn't hear it from me." "Hear what?" I waited in the parking lot until I saw Marcus return to the front desk, then I got to work. The GPS tracker I'd ordered online went under Cole's BMW bumper in about 30 seconds. The voice recorder app on my phone captured me stating the date, time, location, and what I'd observed. Then I went home and waited. The phone started ringing at 7:23 a.m. Tara's number, over and over. I let every call go to voicemail. By the time I finished my morning coffee, there were 17 missed calls and 12 increasingly frantic text messages. "Evan, we need to talk. This is crazy. You're overreacting. It's not what you think. Please answer your phone. I can explain everything." The last one made me laugh out loud. "I love you. We can work this out." I texted back, "Working things out is exactly what I'm doing. Have a great day." Then I called the bank and froze all our joint accounts except for one checking account with enough money for Tara to get home and find a lawyer. I wasn't cruel, just thorough. Next, I drove to Tara's Pilates studio. Maddie Chen was already at the studio when I arrived, setting up for the morning classes. She'd been Tara's business partner for 3 years, and I'd always gotten along with her better than with most of Tara's friends. "Evan, what are you doing here so early?" "Need to talk to you about something. Coffee?" We walked to the cafe next door. Maddie looked nervous, which told me she probably knew more than she'd been letting on. "Maddie, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. How long has Tara been cheating?" Her face crumpled. "Oh, Evan, I was hoping you'd never find out." "So you knew." "I suspected. The late nights, the new clothes, the way she'd get secretive phone calls during classes, and Cole started showing up here a lot, always when you weren't around." "Why didn't you tell me?" "She's my business partner and my friend. I kept hoping she'd come to her senses." Maddie stirred her coffee anxiously. "What are you going to do?" "What I have to do, but I want you to know. This won't affect the business. Whatever happens between Tara and me, you've worked too hard to let her mistakes destroy what you've built." Are you going to divorce her?" "Already filed the papers. Served them last night." Maddie's eyes widened. "She doesn't know you know, does she?" "Oh, she knows now. Question is, what's she going to do about it?" I got my answer an hour later when Tara's best friend Lila came storming into my supply yard office like an avenging angel in yoga pants. "How dare you!" she shrieked, slamming the door behind her. "How dare you humiliate Tara like this?" "Morning, Lila. Coffee?" "Don't you dare act casual with me. She's devastated." I leaned back in my chair, studying this woman who'd spent the last 2 years encouraging Tara's worst impulses. Lila was the kind of friend who lived for drama, who pushed other people into bad decisions so she could play the supportive confidant. "Devastated about getting caught, you mean? It's not what you think? Really? Because what I think is that my wife has been screwing Cole Travers for months while lying to me about it. Am I wrong?" Lila's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Marriages are complicated, Evan. You don't understand the pressure she's been under." "What pressure? The pressure of having a husband who works 60 hours a week to support her dream business? The pressure of living in a house that's paid off? The pressure of having someone who's been faithful to her for 8 years? You don't appreciate her. You take her for granted." "And Cole appreciates her? Is that what you told her when you helped her plan these little hotel visits?" Lila's face went white. Bingo. "That's right, Lila. I know you've been covering for her. All those girls' nights that were really date nights. All those times you confirmed her lies when I asked where she was. I was being a good friend. You were being an accomplice." Jesse chose that moment to poke his head into the office. "Boss, sorry to interrupt, but there's a situation in the parking lot you might want to see." Through my office window, I could see Cole's black BMW pulling up. The man himself got out, looking like he was ready for a fight in his expensive suit and designer sunglasses. "This should be interesting," I said, standing up. "Lila, you might want to stay inside for this." But she followed me out anyway, probably hoping for front row seats to whatever drama was about to unfold. Cole Travers was everything I wasn't, tall, polished, and convinced that his charm could get him out of any situation. He'd made a fortune selling overpriced real estate to city people who wanted a piece of small-town life, and he wore that success like armor. "Evan," he said, extending his hand like we were old friends, "I think we need to talk." I looked at his hand but didn't shake it. "About what?" "About this misunderstanding with Tara." "Misunderstanding?" I laughed. "Is that what we're calling adultery now?" Cole's smile faltered slightly. "Look, I know how this looks, but it's not what you think. Everyone keeps telling me that. What I think is that you've been sleeping with my wife. Are you saying that's not true?" He glanced around the parking lot, probably noticing that Jesse and a couple of my other employees had found reasons to be outside, well within earshot. "Maybe we should discuss this privately." "I'm comfortable discussing it right here. Are you sleeping with my wife or not?" "Evan, be reasonable. These things happen. People grow apart. They find connections elsewhere. It doesn't have to be ugly." "Connections?" I nodded thoughtfully. "Is that what you call it when you screw another man's wife in hotel rooms?" Cole's face hardened. "Tara's not happy, Evan. She hasn't been happy for a long time. Maybe instead of blaming me, you should look at why your wife needed to find companionship somewhere else." That's when I knew I had him. Cole was the type of guy who couldn't resist twisting the knife, couldn't just take his victory and walk away. He had to make it my fault. "You're right," I said. "I should have seen the signs earlier. Should have noticed when she started lying about where she was going. Should have paid attention when she started hiding her phone. Should have wondered why she suddenly needed so much space to think at her mother's house while her mother was staying at mine." Cole's confidence cracked a little. "What?" "Oh, you didn't know. Helen's been sleeping on my couch all week, kitchen renovation. So when Tara texted me that she was at her mom's house, well, that was interesting." Lila made a small sound behind me. I turned to look at her. "You knew about that too, didn't you, Lila? You knew Helen was staying with me when you helped Tara plan her little getaway." I didn't." "Sure you did. You've been helping her lie to me for months. The question is, what did you get out of it? Just the thrill of the deception? Or were you hoping some of Cole's attention would spill over to you?" Lila's face went bright red. Another bingo. Cole stepped forward, his friendly mask finally slipping. "You need to be very careful, Evan. You're making accusations you can't prove, and frankly, you're embarrassing yourself." "Am I?" "Because I've got photos of you two at Murphy's bar. I've got hotel receipts. I've got a GPS tracker on your car that shows exactly where you've been spending your evenings. And I've got a wife who's been stupid enough to use our shared phone plan to coordinate her affair." The parking lot had gone very quiet. Even the birds seemed to be listening. "You're bluffing," Cole said, but his voice had lost its smooth confidence. I pulled out my phone and showed him the tracking app. "Your car's been at the Riverside Inn 14 times in the past month, always on nights when Tara claimed to be working late or having girls' nights. Funny coincidence." Cole looked at the screen, then at me, then at the small crowd of my employees who were watching this play out like a soap opera. "This is harassment," he said finally. "No, this is consequences. You want to sleep with my wife? Fine, but you're going to own it, and you're going to deal with what comes next." "What comes next?" I smiled for the first time since this whole conversation started. "You'll find out." The town's annual harvest festival was that weekend, and everyone would be there, including Cole's wife, Jennifer, who'd been conveniently traveling for work during most of his hotel visits with Tara. I'd done my homework. Jennifer Travers was a pharmaceutical sales rep who spent 3 weeks out of every month on the road. She was also, according to my neighbor, Mrs. Greeley, who knew everyone's business, completely devoted to Cole and their marriage. Mrs. Greeley had been a goldmine of information once I'd started asking the right questions. She'd seen Cole's car in my driveway twice when I wasn't home. She'd noticed Tara leaving with overnight bags on nights when she claimed to be staying local. She'd even seen Lila dropping Tara off at the hotel once, though she hadn't understood the significance at the time. "I should have said something sooner," Mrs. Greeley told me over coffee in her kitchen. "But I kept thinking maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was an innocent explanation." "There wasn't," I assured her, "but you can help me now." "What do you need?" "Just be at the festival on Saturday, and maybe bring your camera." The festival was perfect for what I had planned. Public enough that Cole couldn't make a scene, crowded enough that word would spread quickly, and informal enough that a little chaos wouldn't shut anything down. I spent Friday evening preparing. The photos Jessie had taken were printed and ready. The hotel receipts I'd obtained through a friend who worked in accounting were organized chronologically. The GPS tracking data was compiled into a neat little report showing Cole's movements over the past month. But the real masterstroke was the video. Lila, in her eagerness to be part of the drama, had filmed one of her girls' nights with Tara. It was supposed to be a fun memory of their friendship, just the two of them getting ready to go out, doing their makeup and talking about their plans. Except Tara had gotten a little too honest about those plans. "I can't believe how easy this has been," she'd said in the video, applying lipstick in Lila's bathroom mirror. "Evan's so trusting, he believes everything I tell him, and Cole's hotel points mean we're practically getting paid to have an affair." She'd laughed at her own joke while Lila giggled behind the camera. "What if he finds out?" Lila had asked. "He won't. He's too busy with work to pay attention to what I'm really doing. Besides, even if he did, what's he going to do? Evan's not the type to make a scene." That video had been posted to Lila's private social media account, the one she thought only her close friends could see, the one that Maddie had access to and that Maddie had quietly downloaded before showing it to me. "I can't watch her destroy you like this," Maddie had said when she gave me the file. "You've been nothing but good to both of us." Saturday morning dawned clear and cool, perfect festival weather. I arrived early and set up my booth. McKay Construction Supply was a sponsor, so I had prime real estate right on Main Street. Jesse arrived an hour later with reinforcements, his brother Mike, his cousin Danny, and 2 other guys from work who'd volunteered to help with my customer appreciation event. "You sure about this, boss?" Jesse asked as we arranged the display. "Never been more sure of anything in my life." "And you're not worried about the legal stuff?" "Everything I'm doing is perfectly legal. Public information, public space, public humiliation." At noon, the festival was in full swing. Families wandered between booths, kids ran around with cotton candy, and the local high school band played patriotic songs on the makeshift stage. That's when I saw them. Tara and Cole walked down Main Street like they owned it. Her arm linked through his, both of them dressed like they were attending a country club event instead of a small-town festival. Tara was wearing a new dress I'd never seen before, probably bought with money from our joint account before I'd frozen it. They stopped at the beer garden, where Cole bought them both craft beers, and they found a table in full view of half the festival. 20 feet away, Jennifer Travers was working the library's book sale booth, completely unaware that her husband was on a public date with another woman. I waited until they were settled, until Cole had his back to the crowd and was leaning across the table to whisper something in Tara's ear. Then I activated the first part of my plan. The portable speaker system I'd rented was powerful enough to reach every corner of the festival grounds. When I plugged in my phone and hit play, Tara's voice rang out clear as a bell. "I can't believe how easy this has been. Evan's so trusting, he believes everything I tell him. And Cole's hotel points mean we're practically getting paid to have an affair." The festival didn't exactly stop, but it definitely paused. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Parents looked around confused. Teenagers pulled out their phones to record whatever was happening. Tara's face went white, then red, then white again. Cole spun around in his chair, scanning the crowd until his eyes found mine. I waved. "What if he finds out?" Lila's voice came through the speakers. "He won't. He's too busy with work to pay attention to what I'm really doing. Besides, even if he did, what's he going to do? Evan's not the type to make a scene." I clicked off the audio and picked up the microphone I'd connected to the same system. "Ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the interruption. This is Evan McKay from McKay Construction Supply. I wanted to share a little public service announcement about trust, marriage, and the importance of being honest with the people you love." The crowd had definitely stopped now. Everyone was looking either at me or at Tara and Cole, who were sitting frozen at their table like deer in headlights. That was my wife, Tara, talking about her affair with Cole Travers. Some of you might know Cole. He's the realtor who sold the Hendersons their lake house and the Parkers their retirement cottage. Family man, pillar of the community, married to the lovely Jennifer. I pointed toward the library booth, where Jennifer was standing with her mouth open, staring at her husband. "Now, I know what you're thinking. This is a private matter, should be handled privately. And you're right. I tried that. Filed for divorce, had the papers served, attempted to handle this like a mature adult." Cole had recovered enough to stand up, but he seemed frozen between fight and flight. But then Cole came to my business and told me that these things happen, that people grow apart, that it didn't have to be ugly. He suggested that instead of blaming him, I should look at why my wife needed to find companionship elsewhere. A murmur went through the crowd. In a small town, everyone knows everyone, and Cole's reputation was taking a beating with every word. So I did look. And you know what I found? Hotel receipts. 14 visits to the Riverside Inn in the past month. GPS data showing Cole's car there every time, photos of them together at Murphy's bar on nights when Tara claimed to be working late. I held up a folder thick with documentation. I found text messages coordinating their meetings, credit card statements showing Cole paying for dinners and gifts, and I found friends who were willing to lie and cover for them. Lila, who'd been standing near the craft booth, tried to slip away into the crowd, but Mrs. Greeley, bless her heart, stepped into her path. "Going somewhere, dear?" Mrs. Greeley asked loudly enough for everyone to hear. "The most interesting thing I found," I continued, "was how many people knew about this and said nothing. How many friends, neighbors, and business associates watched me get played for a fool and decided it wasn't their problem." Jennifer Travers had left her booth and was walking toward her husband with the kind of purposeful stride that suggested someone was about to have a very bad day. "Cole," she called out. "Cole, what is this?" Cole finally found his voice. "Jennifer, it's not... This is all what? All lies?" Because that sounded like my husband's voice on that recording, talking about hotel points and affairs. Tara had been silent through all of this, but now she stood up, her face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "Evan, stop this right now. You're humiliating yourself." "Am I? Because from where I'm standing, I'm not the one who got caught cheating. This is insane. You can't do this." "Actually, I can. Everything I've shared is true, documented, and legally obtained. Your affair is not a secret anymore, Tara. Neither is Cole's." The crowd was getting restless, torn between watching the drama unfold and feeling uncomfortable about being part of it. But nobody was leaving. "You want to know the really sad part?" I said into the microphone. I would have forgiven her. If she'd come to me honestly, told me she was unhappy, asked for counseling, or even just asked for a divorce, I would have handled this quietly and fairly. Tara's eyes filled with tears, but I was past caring. Instead, she chose to lie, cheat, and humiliate me while pretending to be the loving wife. She chose to let her friends help her deceive me. She chose to make me look like a fool in my own town. "Evan, please," Tara whispered, but the microphone picked it up. "Please what? Please pretend this didn't happen. Please let you keep lying. Please protect your reputation after you destroyed our marriage?" Jennifer had reached Cole and was having a heated conversation that involved a lot of pointing and what looked like some very creative profanity. "Here's what's going to happen," I announced. "The divorce papers have been filed, the evidence has been documented, and everyone in this town now knows exactly what kind of people they're dealing with." I clicked off the microphone and started packing up my equipment. The crowd began to disperse, but slowly, with lots of backward glances and whispered conversations. Tara approached my booth, tears streaming down her face. "How could you do this to me?" "I didn't do anything to you, Tara. You did this to yourself. This is cruel. This is beyond anything I deserved." I looked at her for a long moment. This woman I'd loved for 8 years, who'd shared my bed and my dreams and my trust. "You're right," I said finally. "You deserved honesty. You deserved a chance to explain. You deserved the benefit of the doubt." Her face brightened with hope. "Unfortunately," I continued, "those were things you should have given me." The next few days were a whirlwind of consequences. Cole's wife Jennifer filed for divorce on Monday morning. By Tuesday, word had spread through the real estate community, and 3 of his biggest clients had pulled their listings. By Wednesday, his broker was asking him to take a leave of absence while the scandal died down. Tara's Pilates studio saw a flood of cancellations, but also, surprisingly, some new sign-ups from people who supported what I'd done. Maddie called to tell me that she was buying out Tara's half of the business. "I can't work with her anymore," Maddie said, "not after seeing how she treated you and how she was willing to destroy everything we built for some sleazy affair." "What will you do?" "Rename it, rebrand it, start fresh. I've got some ideas for expanding the classes we offer. Maybe add some fitness programs for men too." "Sounds like a solid plan." Lila, meanwhile, had become persona non grata among most of her friend group. Apparently, helping someone cheat on their spouse was where a lot of people drew the line, even in the name of friendship. The most satisfying consequence, though, was watching Cole try to salvage his reputation. He'd attempted damage control by claiming that I'd violated his privacy, that the GPS tracking was illegal, that I'd somehow manipulated the evidence, but every accusation he made just reminded people of what he'd done. When he threatened to sue me for defamation, my lawyer had laughed. "Let him try," she'd said. "Truth is an absolute defense, and we've got enough documentation to bury him." Cole's lawyer apparently gave him similar advice because the lawsuit threat stopped after a few days. But I wasn't done yet. 2 weeks after the festival, I threw a party. Not a celebration of my divorce. That felt too petty, even for me. Instead, I called it a new beginnings party and invited everyone I cared about, my employees, my real friends, my neighbors, and even Helen, who'd decided to stay in town rather than go back to her daughter. Tara made her choices, Helen had told me, but you've been more of a family to me than she has. The party was at my house, the same house Tara had shared with me for 5 years. I'd already started redecorating, removing traces of our life together and making it mine again. Jesse and his wife brought barbecue. Mrs. Greeley brought her famous potato salad. Maddie brought wine and stories about how much better the studio was running without Tara's drama. About an hour into the party, an uninvited guest showed up. Cole knocked on my front door like he had every right to be there, looking haggard and desperate. "We need to talk," he said when I answered. "No, we don't." "Evan, please. This has gone far enough." I stepped outside and closed the door behind me, not wanting to bring his problems into my party. "Has it? Because from where I'm standing, this is just getting started." "What do you want from me? I've lost my wife, my business is in shambles, half the town won't speak to me. What more can you possibly want?" "I want you to understand something, Cole. I didn't do this because I'm vindictive or cruel. I did this because you and my wife decided that I didn't matter. You decided that my feelings, my marriage, my reputation were all acceptable casualties in your little affair. It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "How was it supposed to happen? You thought you'd just keep screwing my wife indefinitely and I'd never find out. Or you thought that when I did find out, I'd just quietly disappear and let you have her." Cole ran his hands through his hair. I don't know what I thought. You thought I was weak. You thought I was the kind of man who'd take this lying down, who'd be too embarrassed or too afraid to fight back. Aren't you worried about what people think of you? All this public drama, the way you humiliated them?" I considered the question seriously. You know what I've learned over the past few weeks? The people whose opinions matter to me respect what I did. They understand that I was defending myself and my dignity. The people who think I went too far, those are people who would have expected me to just take it, to be the bigger man, to quietly let you destroy my life. So what now? Now you live with the consequences of your choices, just like I'm living with the consequences of mine. Cole looked like he wanted to say more, but footsteps on the porch interrupted us. Jennifer Travers was walking up my driveway, carrying what looked like a bottle of champagne. "Jennifer," Cole said, his voice cracking slightly. "Hello, Cole." Her voice was ice cold. "Evan, I hope you don't mind me crashing your party. I brought champagne." "You're always welcome here," I said, meaning it. "I wanted to thank you," she continued, still looking at her soon-to-be ex-husband, "for having the courage to tell the truth, for not letting them make fools of both of us." Cole's face crumpled. "Jen, please, can't we talk about this privately?" "We had 15 years to talk privately, Cole. You chose to spend that time lying to me instead." She turned to me. "I also wanted you to know that I'm starting my own real estate company. I've got Cole's former broker interested in backing me, and several of his old clients have already said they'd prefer to work with someone they can trust." The irony was beautiful. Cole's affair hadn't just cost him his marriage, it was going to cost him his livelihood too, and his wife was going to benefit from both losses. "That's fantastic, Jennifer. You'll do great." She smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her since this whole mess started. "I think so too." Cole looked back and forth between us, probably realizing that his problems were just beginning. "I should go," he said finally. "Yes," Jennifer agreed. "You should." We watched him walk back to his car, shoulders slumped, looking every bit like the broken man he'd become. "Do you feel bad for him?" Jennifer asked. "No," I said without hesitation. "Do you?" "Not even a little bit." 6 months later, my divorce was final. Tara had tried to fight it, claiming that my public humiliation of her constituted emotional abuse and that she deserved a larger settlement. But her lawyer had eventually convinced her that adultery was adultery, and that she was lucky I wasn't seeking damages for the emotional distress she'd caused me. She'd moved 2 towns over and was working at a chain fitness center, teaching basic aerobics classes for a fraction of what she'd made at her own studio. Lila had moved with her, the two of them apparently deciding that their friendship was more important than their reputations. Cole had left town entirely. Last I heard, he was selling used cars in Florida and living in a 1-bedroom apartment. Jennifer's real estate company was thriving, and she'd bought his half of their house for pennies on the dollar when he needed quick cash for his relocation. As for me, business was better than ever. Turns out that publicly standing up for yourself and refusing to be a victim was good for my reputation in ways I hadn't expected. People respected the way I'd handled the situation, and word of mouth had brought me more clients than I'd ever had. I'd also started dating again. Nothing serious yet. but I was enjoying the company of women who appreciated honesty and loyalty. The best part, though, was the peace of mind. For months before I'd discovered the affair, I'd felt like something was wrong, but couldn't put my finger on it. I'd questioned my instincts, doubted my perceptions, and wondered if I was being paranoid or controlling. Now I knew the truth. I hadn't been paranoid. I'd been married to a liar. The relief of not having to wonder, not having to doubt myself, not having to pretend everything was fine when it clearly wasn't, that was worth all the drama and public spectacle. On the anniversary of that first text message, I was sitting in my backyard with a beer, watching the sunset and thinking about how much my life had changed. My phone buzzed. For a split second, my heart jumped, some conditioned response from all those months of dreading Tara's messages. But it wasn't Tara. It was Jennifer sending me a photo of the sold sign on a house she'd just closed. "Another satisfied customer," her message read. "Thanks again for everything." I smiled and typed back, "Congratulations. You've earned every bit of your success." As I hit send, I realized something important. I was genuinely happy. Not just relieved, not just satisfied with my revenge, but actually happy. The betrayal had nearly destroyed me, but surviving it had made me stronger. The public humiliation had been embarrassing, but it had also been liberating. And the divorce, as painful as it was, had freed me from a marriage that had been built on lies. Tara had been right about one thing in that video. I wasn't the type to make a scene, but I was exactly the type to make sure the truth came out, no matter how uncomfortable it made people. And in the end, that had made all the difference. I finished my beer, locked up the house, and went to bed in my own space, on my own terms, with my own clear conscience. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and new possibilities. But tonight, I was content with the knowledge that I'd faced the worst betrayal of my life and come out stronger on the other side. The underdog had won after all,